Welcome back to CBrush4K, and this is next on Phantom Brigade, Pilots in Overworld. This is basically me looking at the dev update that's coming up for Phantom Brigade. I know I wasn't like really planning to go back to the game. They did release a few other updates in the meantime, but I decided to look on this one because this is the one I really wanted. This is about pilots and traits and progression of the pilots. Because right now, if you put them into a mech, they sort of just are just there. But they're talking about the next update. I don't know when they're releasing it. So I want to keep my ear to the ground. Maybe see if they come out and say something. But for the most part, you probably will know about the same time I know about it. So let's just continue on. Let's begin with the pilot and traits progression thing. We want pilots to be meaningful, and so basically they're going to give you buffs. I already read this. Spoiler alert, I read this already, and I decided to just give you my overall opinion of it. So basically you're going to get buffs. You're going to get some traits that will unlock whenever you do some progression. Now, they haven't really specified that, but it mostly sounds like it's going to be in combat. Not in anything you can do during base operations, like you're just hanging out in the mess hall. There's nothing too new to game. It's just basically in combat missions, you will get experience for that instead of your pilots not getting anything for that, which I disliked because it made pilots sort of irrelevant. I didn't care about my pilots, but this should get you to care about your pilots because you're getting experience from them, and you're also getting traits because of them, positive and negative traits. And they go on to say negative traits if you abuse your pilots, like put them into too many combat, or if they receive a number of injuries, or something like that. We hope these additions, and I'll change your detail. They aren't ready to go into detail. Normally that'd be a red flag for me, but I feel like this company's trying to make a comeback here, and they're really trying to put forth good ideas, and it's trying to basically rebuild their reputation. From what some of you don't know, but they have another game out called Industries of Mars. It landed on Steam about a time, like a year or so of this, and it has negative reviews. The last time I checked, it was really falling. I don't know how bad it is. I suppose I could look at it and see how it is. I can do a review on it, maybe, but it just, to me, they promised a lot with that game, but they couldn't deliver that much because I don't know. I didn't know what was the internal problems they were suffering from, but I just know that they had some problems. And they sort of, I wouldn't say ended development, but I haven't heard them talk about it since in Industries of Mars. But I've heard them talk about Phantom Brigade, so I feel like this one is much more likely to get more attention from them. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, we were talking about them sort of not saying that they're not ready to give details at the moment. They'll give details. I think they'll probably give it a few weeks. They might go out and tell us something, but for now they're going to be mum's the word because, you know, they had a lot of problems. The world map improve. I didn't read too much about the world map because I was focused more on the other stuff. But world map improving original approach where a world was generated at the start of the campaign had its benefits, but made it difficult to achieve balancing campaign. You could fight the same kind of enemy over and over, miss some mission types entirely, run out of enemies during contests. We considered how we approach the world map and switched it to a director system that will consider the history of your campaign, spawn missions that are most likely to be fresh and appropriate for the current phase of your quest. You won't be locked in a single option, and you will continue to have agency over a direction, a chart in your campaign. But we feel that the reworked generation will provide a much more varied and interesting experience to every player. So let me just break it down. What they're basically saying in this is that they found that the world map was boring. And I did find it boring. I did hear they added boss fights, but the world map felt boring as well. Like, there was not that much going on it. There wasn't much retaliation. There wasn't much, like, on the computer's part. There was much more interesting, varied missions. You would just, once you got into the flow of it, it became relatively simple. So they're trying to shift that away from that. They want to make it much more fun oriented. It's a weird thing to say, but it's much more okay. It's much more chaotic than before. There's not much of it just being like a simple A, B, C, D sort of thing. It's just sometimes you go to A, then you go to B, but sometimes you go to F, and you'll skip C and D and E, and you'll just go right to F. Or maybe you'll go to A, then to C, then to E, and some combo like that. Like, it'll make it an interesting, unique experience for each player. Is what they're trying to shoot for with the world map update, and I think that's a good stance to take. It really expands the replayability of a game when it's unique to each player, because each player will be like, "Wow, I didn't see that happen in my game." In my last game, this is pretty cool. Like, it's sort of like how XCOM works. There's varying amounts of surprise on the world map. Like, sometimes you'll just get a mission that you didn't get in the previous campaigns, but you got it here. I find that always fascinating with the XCOM missions. The quality of life improvement. Finally, the next update will feature lots of quality of life improvements. We worked pilot briefing, debriefing, dialogue screens, a quest system that guides you through the campaign and puts hints. A new codex screen will help you remember to learn the myriad of mechanics present in the game without needing to restart your campaign to revisit one-time tutorials. Okay. In addition to some interest lore. Okay. So they're going to add some more lore. It felt like it was very... That was another big criticism. There was no lore to that game. There was just... You were doing A, B, and C. Now, it's bare bones. I consider this a really good game. It's fun. It's got a lot of things in there. But there's not enough, like, lore in there, and pilot progression, and overall world campaign mechanics that will keep people coming back. I think these improvements will increase the game substantially if they do it right. Hopefully, they'll do it right. Now, can I guarantee it will be much better than it is now? Not really, but I can guarantee it will be better if they do certain things. If their promises are held to, at least for the most part, it will be a better game. Is it an awful game now? No, I wouldn't say it's an awful. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10 right now, the game currently. It's a 7 out of 10. Like, I can imagine better, I can imagine worse than this, but it's a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10 is not that bad. I think 7 out of 10s should be given to certain games like this, and not games like, I would say that are, they're just mediocre. I would say like games that are okay-ish for some people, but let's be real here, it's not that good. Example would be probably Star Wars Outlaws. People have been giving that 7 out of 10s, but I would say that it's not a 7 out of... Well, from what I've seen, I haven't played it. I would have to play it to give you a genuine, like, score number in my head. So they're doing a play test. You can join their Discord. I would recommend you go on a Discord and try and give as much positive feedback as, well, not positive, but feedback as you can give. Don't be respectful. Be respectful when you talk to people about their efforts, because this is their baby and they're very protective of it. So, I can tell they really care about this project. So bear that in mind. When you're giving criticism, try to be helpful with that criticism. Like you say, well, I want more stuff on the world map. Could you guys give more stuff on the world map? Could you make this character's trait much more debilitating, or give this character trait a nice ability? Like, they've said that they will give special abilities to certain pilots if they get certain traits. And I find that interesting. It can either be an active ability or a passive one. Active just means that you can turn on a button and it'll start. And a passive one just means it's on constantly. So it's like a 5 or 10% increase in something. I'm not saying like much, but 5 and 10% can be a lot if you add it to other stuff in the ability tree. Overall, I think this is a good way to get the pilot progression back in there. Hopefully, this will improve the game. I like it, but it's not. I can tell it's sort of like it has flaws and weaknesses that they could work on. I'm glad they're coming back and are working on it and they're trying to fix it. There's some games that just get straight up abandoned, and I think that's sad because some of them really could use some work on it. Like, for instance, the Mad Max game that I did a review on. If you guys want to check that out, it's on my channel. You can find it in the end screen that's coming up right now. You can just go ahead and imagine if they had put more behind that game, even after the launch, even after it didn't do so well. You can imagine how big that game. They would have their own game series right now if they had got it behind that game, but they really just didn't. It's just sad. But oh well. I'll get you guys in the next one. Take care.